happens, no. We wouldn't get a better view from the other side. I think we'll wait here for now. We might get a better view from the other side, but I think we'll wait here for now. He's already looking a little bit pressured by this sort of situation here. Lots of vehicles all over the place. Now, a very nice question from Betty Lowe. Betty, you want to know if something happens to Shadow, could young Sindile here survive? Betty, right, there are a few different things to consider here. First of all, is that a male is normally stays with his mum longer than the females do, so up to 2 to 2.5 years. But some females have raised cubs and they've gone independent at a year. So he is 11 months old. Betty, I think it's unlikely, to be honest, that he'd survive on his own. He may, though. You know, he's definitely probably started hunting francolins and the odd scrub hare, and he probably takes insects and termites if he can get them, and so he might be able to survive. His major threat, as I said yesterday, the major threat for young leopards is other leopards. So if he came across a big female, or especially a territorial male in this area who perhaps wasn't his father, even if it was his father, they tend not to show a huge amount of kin recognition, and so he would probably be killed. So I think he's probably got, before he's totally safe, I'd say another 6 months, and then he'll probably be okay on his own. But you can just see how inquisitive he is. Isn't that beautiful? Stay here a little bit longer. I think he might move. I don't want to go bashing around to the other side of him if I don't have to. And just like the lion, you can see the bit of black on the back of the ears, but also a bit of a white patch, which makes it, and if you see in black and white and you hunt at night, that's a good following mechanism if you're with your mum, which he often still will be. She's in and around here. This is where she was this morning, somewhere around here. Hello, Teresa. Teresa, you want to know if Shadow made a kill today. We're not sure. We haven't found her again. Scott found her this morning, and you probably watched her with him. She was definitely hunting, definitely trying to see if she could find something. If she had made a kill, what she'd do is she'd feed. She'd probably stash the kill under a thick bush. I'm not sure how much of a hoister Shadow is, and that means I'm not sure how often she chooses to hoist her kills into the trees, but she will either stash it under a bush and then come and fetch him, or put it in a tree and come and fetch him, but she'll eat first. she'll definitely remember that in order for her to look after him, she has to maintain her strength. If she starts to lose strength in order to maintain him, his chances of survival also decrease. So it's highly important that she maintains her own power and strength before she looks after little Sindile. Hello, Ginny. Quite an interesting question that. Would Karula kill him? There's no definitive answer, Ginny. It's possible. I think it's unlikely, though. We've seen a Londolozi down the road. We've seen a grandmother actually adopt one of her grandchildren. And when this happened, the leopard concerned met up with her daughter. The daughter had 2 cubs. The grandmother had 1 cub of her own. And when they split apart, the grandmother took the youngster, one of her granddaughters. So she then ended up with 2 cubs, and her own cub died, and she ended up raising the granddaughter very successfully. So I don't think that Karula would kill this leopard, no. I think they may fight over a kill, but I definitely don't think she'd try and kill him. He's actually also a little bit big. Now, she'd struggle to overcome him, so there would be no point. So, Jenny, the big thing with leopards is that they avoid physical confrontation if they can, and for her to take on a leopard this size would be pretty dangerous. I mean, she'd probably beat him, but he wouldn't be to be trifled with at this size. He's decent sized. Should we try her on the other side?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we're just going to try and go around the other side. I don't think he seems to be looking like he's going to move a great deal. And while his bottom is particularly attractive for a bottom, his face is infinitely more so. Getting out of here, of course, is another matter. You know what? Let's go this way. You want to know if he's got a cut on his back left paw. I can't see one. I tell you what, though, I think from the other angle we'll get a better look. So I'll see if we can't get a look and see if he's got a cut on his back left paw. I'm taking a bit of a circuitous route to get round to him again because I don't want to make a noise too close to him. And I made a mistake earlier on because he's much younger than Karula, and yesterday we bashed around Karula and she didn't even react at all. So I thought he might be the same, which was naive and stupid of me. And I did manage to gave him a bit of a fright and he stood up, which made me feel actually tremendously bad. It's so much better when they just don't react to us at all. Oh, this is Wium, there's a Sisyphus here. That's taking me out. And much of the Land Rover. We're not going to get through here, are we?
Yes, but there you go, there's a road right there.
Okay, there's a road close by. Hold on, everybody. We'll get back there eventually. Really making a bit of hash of the sighting. Sorry about that. Hello, Raisa. Your question is a good one. It's around sensitivity, and that's important. Do we consider him a cub still? Because normally, for those of you who don't know, what happens is that with the youngsters, we will normally only have a one vehicle sighting with a cub unless she's with the mother. And if she isn't with the mother, or he isn't with the mother when they're little, then it'll only be one vehicle. And in this case, there are 3 vehicles here. Raisa, the answer is pretty much from as soon as she's prepared to leave him in a situation like this, so probably from 8 months, then we will view them 2 to 3 vehicles, yeah. But it's definitely something to be careful of, and I was very insensitive when I came in here. I didn't realize how it's not quite comfortable cars just yet. Inzanbao. Ipokile. Mi umakui. Aha. That's better. So that's a much better picture. Hello, Anne in Texas. As he gets older, will his spots change color? No, they won't. Well, they might fade a bit as he gets very older. So much older leopards tend to, their color does fade. Their spots don't change much, though. And actually, even from this age, if you look at the spot pattern above the whiskers, that doesn't change. That's why it's such a good way to identify them. And even as you've all pointed out to me, the word wow is written across Karula's face. That would have been from quite a young age. I think that would have been identifiable. As I say quite often, though, the most reliable way to tell these leopards is by that unique spot pattern above the whiskers, and that won't change. But the general number of spots, no, they won't change at all. They'll be from life, but obviously as he expands, their position on his body will change a little bit. But no, those patterns and things that you can see on his forehead will remain pretty much the same. Yeah, he's being much more confiding now. He's now relaxed totally, which is wonderful. Imagine how many people are going to drive past him. Kathy in Memphis, Tennessee. Lovely question. How old will he be when his mother starts to leave him? She's already started, Kathy. You can see him sitting there where he is now. His mum is in and around the place, but she's not very close by, and we found them very far away at various times. So even at this age, she's starting to separate herself slightly. I wonder if she hasn't done that too soon in the past, and that's why at 9 years old, she still failed to raise a cub to independence. So it may be that she just doesn't like the company of her youngsters very much, and that might be why she struggled to raise them. But absolutely from now, this is not unusual for a female to leave a cub like this at this age for fairly extended periods, up to a day or two sometimes. He's not suckling anymore. So he will kill for himself a little bit. He'll kill birds and maybe the odd hare and eat insects if he has to. But then she'll take him back to eat proper meat when she kills something that's sufficient. Inkomo ba? Hello, Charles. Another nice question. You want to know, would leopards share a kill in the tree? Absolutely, they would. Yeah. She will take. His mum will take a kill up into a tree. He'll go up after her, and they'll definitely share it in a tree. We had a wonderful sighting, which you're going to see a highlights package of just now, of Karula, his grandmother. And by grandmother, let us not mistake her for old. Grandmother who had a kill, and one of the territorial males of the area came into the tree and stole the kill from her. So if they're related, they will probably share, but not otherwise. He spotted something behind him, unless he's just fascinated by the Toyota Land Cruiser that's just driven off. Oh, that's interesting. Let's just wait here and see. You can hear a bird alarm calling at him. Sounds like a little rattling testicular. He spotted a little covey of francolins that are totally oblivious to him, and they're not listening to the alarming testicular nearby. There they are. And they're just the other side of the termite mound from where he is. They really do sometimes come across them. He's stalking them now. So we're just I'm gonna probably leave fairly soon, just because we don't want to put a spotlight on him. But let's just watch what he does with his francolin. They're now walking straight past the front of him, but he's not looking particularly fascinated by them at all. Which is very odd. He's watching with interest, but he doesn't seem to be about to charge after them. I might be wrong. Yeah, now he's flattened his ears. That's pretty typical cat behavior. Oh, that's a beautiful shot. There you can see that spot pattern above his whiskers there. He's got 3 spots that side. Lovely. Really nice example of it. So those 3 spots he'll have above his whiskers there will not change from now until the day he shakes off this mortal coil, and may that day be a very long way in the future. Beautiful. Look at those blue eyes. Unbelievable. Hello, Marin in the Strand. Look at him. You want to know how long the cub will go without water. Marin, that's a nice question, especially in an area like this, which is semi-arid. The answer is quite a long time. Not like us. They can, they get a lot of their water requirements from the prey that they eat, and so he can probably go 3 or 4 days, maybe up to 5 days without water. He will drink if he can. I'm just trying to think where the nearest water is. He's not too far from water now, but they will go up to 5 days quite easily, especially if they're eating something like an impala. Remember, antelope are made largely of water, just like us. All right, we're gonna leave him here and drive slowly back towards the fireside. I'll tell you why. I don't want to be with him. I don't want to be with him when it gets too dark. I'm definitely not going to put a spotlight on him. while very nicely pointed out, while he is by Raisa, while he's okay with us during the day, the night time's just a lot more pressurized. There's a lot of hyena around, so we don't want to put too much pressure on him. So we're going to leave him here, and we're going to head back towards Scott, who I think is lighting the fire and charging the questions, and we'll see you. I'll take you there with me, actually, and here we go. So we're going to leave this beautiful leopard to the night time. Here we go. Bye-bye, little fella. Keep safe. Okay, wonderful. Just going to do an about turn here. Wow, we've had some great leopard luck over the last 2 days. It's called a 74-point turn. The Land Rover, as I've mentioned before, has the same turning circle as the USS Abraham Lincoln. Inkomo ngopfu, itabonana.
Thank you.
Now, it's now after sunset, midwinter, Kruger National Park, beautiful sky, here in my shirt sleeves. I'm not cold at all. Wium is also in his shirt sleeves. And we just had 2 spectacular leopard days. And I feel most exhilarated by the whole affair. Watch the bump. Right, so we're going to go across to Scott now, who's lit the fire. He's sat down, he's waiting to speak with you, and I will see you there very shortly. And please remember, send through your questions on lions and leopards, Karula, the lion dynamics and that sort of things, and we'll do our best to answer them, and we'll have a discussion about it. I'll see you there just now.
Riparila, everyone, and welcome to the fireside chat this evening. For those of you who may have just joined, my name's Scott, and we're just awaiting James, who you just left with Sindile, and what a sighting it sounds like you had with him. Really exciting stuff. And aren't we so lucky to have such insight into the lives of the various animals that live on Djuma and Arathusa. But Shadow and her cub Sindile have been an absolute pleasure to watch over the last few months. Anyway, as you can see, we've got the fire going. Brian lent a hand in setting this up, and thanks to him. So the plan for this evening is to run through a few clips and a few highlights. My initial highlights, or my major highlight this week, was a morning spent with the Nkuhuma Pride of Lions. So we're going to be showing you a little highlights package of that a little bit later. And James had an awesome encounter. He met Karula for the first time this last week. And Karula is a female leopard who's dominant here on Djuma, and we've seen a lot of her and even more of her 2 sons, Quarantine and Kunyuma, who sadly seem to have disappeared off. But James is going to be showing you an incredible clip of what he had what he saw with her. Another leopard may have been involved, so if some of you were lucky enough to watch that, you'll know what I'm talking about. But for those who didn't, stay tuned, because there's some really awesome interaction between Karula and another leopard that we get to see a little bit later on. And then we're going to discuss anything really, but with a bit of focus on the Nkuhuma Pride as well as Karula. But all the leopards and lions in this area are all kind of interconnected, you could say, and are all involved in one another's lives indirectly, because where they move and where they go has an impact on the other individuals. And there's been quite a lot of movements of both leopard and lion over the last few weeks and months, so we're going to touch on that. And please send your questions through. If you don't know how to, it's really easy. You hashtag Safarilive on Twitter, or send an email through to questions@wildearth.tv. and we look forward to answering them. If we don't get to answer all the questions, we do apologize, but there's lots of you watching and it's impossible to answer everyone's questions. So sorry about that, but do try, and we'll do our best to answer them to the best of our ability. Now, just recapping on the few days that I've been back, it's really wonderful. I went and had a 2-week break back in my hometown Durban on the east coast of South Africa, and just like here, it's got beautiful winter weather, warm sunny days and cool crisp evenings, but it's warm enough to go swimming in the warm Indian Ocean. And I'm not going to tell you too much about my 2 weeks off, because most of the excitement that we're going to talk about is what happens here. And when I got back about 3 or 4 days ago, we have been spoilt day in and day out with incredible sightings. We've seen Tingana, the big male leopard who spends a lot of time on Arethusa, although is drifting more into Djuma now that he's getting pressure from the Anderson male. Had a great afternoon with him, lots of sightings with the Nkuhuma Pride, Shadow this morning, now James and Sindile this afternoon. James again has had lots of great sightings with Karula this week, and like I said, his first one, which is a memorable day for him. And not to forget Brent, who's just taken some leave. He'll be back at the end of the month when James takes a break. And Brent was here also in this last week, and he's also had some really good sightings. So we've been spoilt, as have you, the viewers, and it's so good to have you on safari with us, especially when things are going well like they are at the moment. Now, you may hear a low drone in the background. That's a generator that's running. Out here in the bush, sometimes we don't get supplied with electricity so well, so we've got backup generators, and there's obviously been a power cut at the local station, so we've got a generator running to supply the lodge, Vuyatela and Galago, with electricity, and their guests will be coming back to a beautiful camp tonight. So without further ado, I think we can take a look at the clip of the morning I spent with the Nkuhuma Pride yesterday. They had just recovered from being extremely full-bellied the day before. We're not sure what they had killed 2 nights prior to this sighting, but take a look at this clip and enjoy. There's some great footage that comes into scene. So they started off playing on the dam wall, and we had a really low angle which made for great viewing, and the tail bite that happened next was also a surprise, and some great interaction between these lioness. They then continued, and as you can see them running down the road, it made for some great views, especially in this next scene where you see them in the golden morning sunlight. Then things took a turn, and you could see the lioness stalking. She came across, well, the whole pride came across some buffalo that started hurtling off after a few minutes. They realized the lions were there, and the lioness charged after them. She actually trips, watch closely, and it was kind of a half-hearted attempt, and then the buffalo disappeared off in a cloud of dust, leaving the lion to lick their wounds and feel sorry for themselves. Not their wounds, I guess, but they had their pride to try and regather. It's not the first time that I've seen the Nkuhuma Pride getting taught a lesson by a big old buffalo, and it's probably, I'm guessing, the 4th or 5th time that I've seen them unsuccessfully hunt buffalo. That's not to say they haven't successfully captured buffalo over the last few months. It wasn't long ago that they caught one in Buffelshoek, not far from our northern boundary. But I think the key to their success on that specific hunt was the cover of darkness. It's certainly a lot easier for lion and leopard when they do have the cover of darkness to aid them. They've got such great night vision, whereas their prey aren't so fortunate. Now, with the Nkuhuma Pride, just to let you know a little bit more about them. Oh, I can hear a visitor. It sounds like Mr. Henry is on his way, and it's always good to see James arriving at any scene, really, because you know you're going to have a few laughs. And if some of you have yet to get to know James very well, he's a real character, and he's a new member to the WildEarth team. He's fitted in really well, and it's so great to have him here. A large reason for that is he does have a guitar, and don't forget, at the end of the show, he's going to be playing a special song. I'm going to be on backup vocals tonight, which I'm not sure is worth sticking around for, but we'll have to wait and see about that. But it's a great song, and I look forward to having James around the campfire with us to chat and also to play on his guitar a little bit later. Good evening, Mr. Henry.
How are you? Yes,
Very
nice
good.
to see you.
Good.
Hello, everyone. Again, it's always a
I've kept
slightly
this.
odd.
I've kept this seat for you,
Oh,
sir.
thank you. That's
Yes.
very kind. Is it higher than yours?
Not
No.
really, but
I'll have to sit like this.
it's more comfortable, and we need our special guest guitarist to be comfy in his seats. How was the afternoon with Sindile?
It was good. I haven't. I've only seen him 3 times, so it was amazing to see him again. And really some interesting stuff that he was doing. He's knocking about a termite mound, and few of you have asked me questions about whether he and his mum are termite mound specialists, and certainly every time I've seen them, they do seem to have been sort of on a termite mound, and so that was very special to see. He was right next to the road, the main road, and I suspect that, it's a main thoroughfare for guests coming in and out of this magnificent reserve, and I suspect probably dozens of them have driven past him, lurking under the bush there.
Well, I was one of them.
seen
I
him.
was one of them
No.
to drive past. We searched that area, but obviously not very effectively.
Well, I think it was pure luck that anyone managed to spot him at all.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we sometimes luck is our best friend out here a lot of the time. But glad you got to see him.
Yes,
No
no.
sign of shadow towards the
No
end.
sign of shadow towards the end, and we had some nice questions about, at what stage will a female leopard leave the cub, and there's a lot of speculation about it, obviously, and some of the females apparently in this area have raised successful cubs but left them at independence sort of around aged 10 to 12 months. But
Which is really low.
yeah, and as we
in
know,
terms of the
shadow has
general
been
stats.
particularly unimpressive on the motherly front.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Somebody said, do I think that maybe she's starting to leave him already? And given her motherly statistics, it's not impossible that she'll start to spend less and less time with him.
Yeah, it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens there. Well, welcome again, James.
Thank you.
And just to fill you in, we've just showed the clip of the Nkahuma Pride, the morning
Very
I
nice.
spent with them, and I've been discussing a little bit about them, and we've just got a question through from Rosie. Good evening, Rosie.
Hello,
and
Rosie.
Good to have you around the fire with us this evening. Rosie's asked a great question, and it's one scenario that I actually haven't thought of yet, Rosie. So Rosie's interested to know whether the young male, nicknamed Junior from the Nkahuma Pride, he's approaching around 3.5 years of age, whether there's a chance that he could possibly join up with the 2 Styx males. It's 2 young males. They're about 4.5,
Yes,
I believe.
I believe so, yeah.
So compatible in terms of age, and there is a chance that they could accept him into their coalition. And what Rosie's asked on top of that is, would there be a chance if the Matimba males got into a fight with the Styx males, and therefore Junior, if he's joined them, would he fight his fathers? And my initial thoughts is yes.
I would say, Rosie, absolutely he'd fight his fathers. I think he'd get what in South Africa is beautifully termed a snort klap, which means basically a real hard smack. And I think that he'd get beaten up at the moment, and I think probably a 2 4-year-old Styx males and him would still pose no threat to the 2 big Matimbas. But that may not remain the same for a long time. So it's not unusual for coalitions of male lions to join up, where 2 brothers who are perhaps not able to take over a territory on their own, and especially someone like Junior, if he's going to live to take a territory, he's either going to have to be the biggest lion the Sabi Sands has ever found, or he's going to have to make friends with some other nomadic males. And that's not unheard of at all. That's actually quite common. And I remember there was a big coalition called the Mapocho around here, Barton, is that, I think it's called Brothers of Blood or something like that,
Yeah.
on YouTube at the moment, and a beautiful documentary about the lions in this area. And those Mapocho males, and I don't think they mention it in this in the actual YouTube video. When I first saw them, there was a 6th male with them, and he was much older than them. And I think that they took a lot of lead from him to start with, and I think he sort of fell by the wayside when they became dominant. So it's not unusual, even in this area, for lions to meet up with each other. Yeah.
Speaking of big coalitions and lions meeting up, we've got a question through from John in California. And John's asking if the Birmingham boys, who are a young coalition of male lions, there's 5 of them, so they are a force to be reckoned with, but their manes aren't quite fully developed and they've still got a little bit of learning to do. They're just on our northern boundary and there's a chance that they could come in tonight. That would be great. They've been gone for months now.
I've never seen them.
But if they did come into this area and establish dominance, which I think is a reality, they've got pressure from, you said, another 9, a coalition of 9 males in the Manyaleti, pushing them back south towards us. And if they were to set up shop here, John is interested to know, would they run riots? What would change in the lion dynamics? And what changes could we expect to see? Would they, do you think they'd be able to overthrow the Matimba males and the Majinga lions?
I think that the Majinga lion seems to have moved off quite a long way to the west. 5 male lions in this kind of area, I would say, is a size limit, an upward size limit. I think the 9 males will definitely split at some stage, and I think a coalition from one of them is going to come on and dominate this. And what's so nice is that all of the pressure building around here is starting to center on Djuma, so we're in for an exciting time. I wrote to a friend of mine the other day. He's a very experienced environmentalist all over Africa, and he says the biggest male lion coalition he's ever seen was 7, which happened at Ngala, not too far from here. And that coalition of 7 lions eventually broke up into 3 and 4. And they sort of went their separate ways. So I think those 9, I think they're called the Sky Blue Boys or something like that.
Okay.
Those 9 are not going to survive as a sort of major force. Yeah, I think they're going to definitely split up.
And if they did come in, the cubs of the Styx lioness would be killed. So that would be a change in lion dynamics. There's even a chance that they may kill other lioness or the adult lioness of the Styx pride if they try and defend their cubs. So it's not uncommon for males to even kill adult lions, be it young males or lioness. So it'll make a big difference in terms of all of the lion in this area, and they will throw their weight around if they do become dominant. So it'll be interesting to see, John, and I certainly look forward to seeing what happens, because like James says, there's a lot that's going to happen, and we sense it in the action zone.
A nice question from Happy Cub. Interesting name, that Happy Cub. I do like hearing your questions. It makes me feel slightly warm and fuzzy to have somebody with a name like Happy Cub asking questions. You want to know if Junior would go off and form his own coalition. I think it's possible. He will become a nomad. When he gets chased out of here, either by the Matimba males or the Birmingham coalition that will come through, that massive coalition of 9, it's like a phalanx in the Roman army. I suspect what will happen is that he will be thrown out, and he will live as a nomad for a while, and that's not unusual. He'd be perfectly capable at his current age of looking after himself at his current size as well, and so he can hunt for himself. He'd be fine, and he'll live as a nomad for a while, and perhaps he'd find, if he went off into the Kruger and didn't meet up with the Styx males or any others, then he'd probably meet up with 1 or 2 other males perhaps. Those 9 males that are coming out here, it's highly unlikely they come from the same pride. If they do, it would have been a huge pride. It's highly unlikely that they're all brothers, and it's highly unlikely that they're all the same age. So I can't wait to see them. I just think it'll be fascinating to see them. And you can sort of tell their resemblances from their relatedness from their resemblance. For example, these 2 Matimba males, they don't seem to look particularly similar to each other. And whether they are brothers or cousins or perhaps 2 nomads that met together is not... I think people say they did come from the same pride, but who knows? Who knows what the different genetics are? And so those 9 would be fascinating to see.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. We've got one last question that we're going to squeeze in on the topic of lion before we move on to James's first encounter with Karula, and it's a question from Krista in Canada, and she's one of our new viewers. She's only joined in the last week, and Krista, so happy that you've found out about Safarilive and that you're enjoying the show so far. Now, Krista is interested to know, what would lion do if they encountered another predator, like a leopard or a hyena? Would they try and kill it? And the answer to that is yes, Krista.
Unequivocally, yes.
Lion are luckily the biggest out of the carnivores here, and that allows them to kind of bully the other predators, and it makes sense for them. the less other predators that there are around, the less competition there is for them. So it's that simple. Whether they're killing leopard or hyena or jackal, they'll do it simply to eliminate other predators being in the same area trying to steal all their food.
I mean, Krista, the basic hierarchy is that lions at the top, hyenas then wild dogs. And although wild dogs are smaller than leopards and cheetah individually, because they're in a pack, they can afford to take more risks. And so under the wild dogs would come the leopard, and then way at the bottom the cheetah. And I mean, cheetah get chased off kills by jackals sometimes, and even by vultures. So it goes lion, hyena, wild dog, leopard, and then cheetah. So we're going to move on to my highlight of the week, I believe. And I think before we do so, there were a lot of you who were very kindly hoping and willing that I should see Karula and meet her, because she's many of your favorite leopards. And so it was with great joy yesterday that I was driving along, looking down onto the road for tracks, and we had tracks, and then the tracks disappeared. And Wium said, "Have you still got tracks there?" And I said, "No, they've seemed to have disappeared off the road." And he looked up and to the left, and he said, "Oh, there she is." And she was sitting in a tree with a bushbuck. And what a marvellous privilege it was to then spend much of that morning game drive with her. And I'm sorry we lost signal for lots of it. But then we sat with her for 3 hours in the afternoon. It was just an incredible privilege to spend that amount of time with her. So we're going to show you a short clip now. And you'll be able to see the magnificent Queen of Djuma in all her glory. And initially seen this week with Brent, and Brent was found her just down by the Gari Dam, and you can see her there. She's sitting there eating in the tree, and it wasn't to be peace the whole afternoon for her. A big male leopard, Mvula, came leaping up and in a totally unchivalrous manner stole the kill from her. And she disappeared over the eastern boundary and came back in west, and we found her heading west on Mamba Road, and there you can see her in a wonderful tree where she was eating against the perfect winter sky, and in the glorious sort of grey colour of that marula skeleton where she'd stashed her kill. And it was a wonderful time that I had with her, and a wonderful time listening to all of you, your comments, and hearing getting your questions, and hearing all of you expound ceaselessly about her magnificence. Now, as you all know, I did say that she was slightly pug-faced. Now, while I'm here, this is not to take anything from her beauty or her magnificence or her skills. Please understand, you make me out to be very shallow when you assume that I am unable to appreciate her beauty for nothing but her looks. I'm going to drop, I did it with Brent last week. I dropped him in it. I'm going to do the same to Scott. Scott, is Karula the most beautiful leopard you've ever seen in your life?
No, she certainly isn't. But she is better looking than her daughter Shadow, I think.
Yes.
So
well, maybe, yes.
You do get good looking and bad looking leopard folks, and I guess it is just a matter of opinion. So yes. That's why it may be some of yours favourite, but for us, not so much. She's a wonderful leopard, though, in terms of what she does. Although she has been a bit elusive over the months that we've been here. She did used to spend a lot more time on Djuma before we arrived in November last year. And one of the wonderful things about Karula are the sons that she's had, and not only the sons that she's had most recently, Kunyuma and Quarantine, but also other litters. Tundi and Shadow are two other leopards that live in the surrounding areas. We don't ever see Tundi, but that's another couple of leopard that Karula has contributed to this ecosystem. So she's been a really great mother. Even though we haven't got to see her too much in the last few months, we've got to see a lot of her offspring.
And Mars, you ask an interesting question. Why haven't we been seeing Karula? And I mean, as Scott has said, there's quite a lot of other activity going around here. And you're particularly worried about those two young males and whether they aren't influencing it. I don't believe that that's the case, no. I think that having seen a presentation last week on leopard-sized territory, she's got an enormous territory. And I think she's just moving slightly to the east. The areas where she's living now are really quite difficult to follow a leopard in because they're very thick. There are huge amounts of trees. The blocks are big. There are very few roads in them. So to track a leopard through there is quite difficult. So I think what you'll find is that she's just sort of shifted slightly to the east. I think she's not being pressured by those two males. The sons generally don't pressure their mums. They'll be roaming more and more widely. And I don't think, certainly, I mean, if they were pressuring her, we'd have been seeing them more around exactly where we're sitting now. But I don't think that's the case. I think she may be being pushed slightly by shadow, maybe from the south by a few others. But I think she's just moved her very large territory. She's just making a core of it further to the east, where it's just a little bit more difficult to find her.
Yeah, and there may be more prey out there. We sadly don't know what goes on to the east of Djuma because we don't get to drive around there, but it could just simply be more favorable an environment there, better hunting, more cover, who knows.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got another question through from Heidi. Good evening, and thanks for sending your question through. Heidi says she's been on safari to Africa many times, but never seen nearly as many leopard as she's seen here on Djuma. And that's no surprise, Heidi. We are really, really privileged here within Djuma and Arathusa and the whole Sabi Sands private reserve, because there is some of the best leopard viewing, not only in South Africa, but Africa as a whole. And James, there's a couple of reasons for that. The main one being the habituation process that's gone on here.
I mean, one of the pioneers, of course, was John Varty down at Londolozi, which is just down here. And he, I think for many years, people thought, well, you can't view leopards because they just run from vehicles. And he wanted to catch them on film. And through his process of trying to catch them on film, he managed to habituate a specific mother leopard, or what they term the mother leopard, and from that this entire kind of industry of leopard viewing and photographing took off, and now it's into Botswana and you see it all over Africa. But I think I agree with you, Scott. I think that this leopard viewing here is better than anywhere else on the continent.
Yeah. So, and it's not because there aren't leopard where you've been going on safari, Heidi. It's simply because they do not want to be seen by vehicles. Now, don't be alarmed. James isn't going anywhere. He's just dusting off the guitar. So he'll be back, and we'll be playing some music for you shortly. As I said earlier, I've been tasked with backup vocals, so I've been upgraded into, it's basically an audition for James's band that I'm going through this evening.
Yes, the jury's still out on brains as to whether he made it.
Don't send your feedback unless it's good, otherwise I run the risk of not being a part of the band.
So everybody, this song is called The Lion Sleeps Tonight. It was inevitable that it would come about sometime during these fireside chats. And a bit of background to it. It was written by a chap who worked in the 1920s as a cleaner for the... Well, no, he didn't actually. He wrote it in the 1920s, but then he subsequently worked as a cleaner for the Gallo Music Company. And he recorded it one day, and it was in the bad old days of apartheid when he wasn't able to kind of market it to the world, but somehow this wonderful song got out. And it was taken up by any number of people. It's been covered hundreds of times throughout the years. And there was a very famous lawsuit in 2004 when Disney was sued for the rights to the song. And his family, because he never made a cent off it, his family, a South African family, he's a Zulu man called Robert Linda, I think his name was, and his family in 2004 managed to get the rights to the song, and the money now from the royalties go into a trust. I'm not sure what the trust does, but it's a charitable organization as far as I understand it. And this is the song Wium, or The Lion Sleeps Tonight. Now, Scott has got one major function, and that's to go...
Awimba we, 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 awimba we.
Perfect.
Awimba we, awimba we, awimba we, awimba we, awimba we, awimba we, awimba we.
Right. In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. Very good, Scott. Right, now, before we carry on, there's a Zulu verse to it, which is a direct translation, and we're going to quickly do that. And it goes, Ehlathini, in the forest, ihlati likhulu, the enormous forest, libubesi lilaule busuku, the lion sleeps tonight. So we're going to do the Zulu version, and I would like you all to join in at home. Ignore your children or your dogs, your cats who might run outside screaming. Ehlatini, ihlati likulu, ibubezi lilale busuku. Are you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ehlatini, ihlati likulu, ibubezi lilale busuku. Ehlatini, ihlati likulu, ibubezi lilale busuku. I think the jackals might start calling fairly soon.
We should actually have a look around and see who's dancing around us.
Absolutely. Right, cameramen, we're going to do one more chorus and then we'll finish the song. Well done, Scott. Great job. Yes, I'm most impressed. I think you can join. I think the jury's out on Brent, of course. He's a little bit of a loose cannon in a band, you know. You can't really trust him to stick to the script, as it were.
But he does have the unique skill with the shaker.
He does. He has
so
excellent skill
I lack
with the
that
shaker.
skill, so maybe we're all finding our little niche in the band here.
Thank you very much, everybody, for watching us make fools of ourselves. We thoroughly enjoy doing it every week. It's been a wonderful week of amazing leopards, and spectacular skies, and glorious African winter. And we will see you in the coming week.
Yes, tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, yes, which starts just tomorrow.
Okay. Well, thanks very much, folks, and it's been great fun. We will see you all for the Sunrise Safari.
Thanks very much, folks.
Bye-bye.
It's been great fun. We will see you.
Yeah, Mamba way.